Hey guys, it's Faye from Solar Flow, and I am back with an all-new Ask Me Anything. It's your guys' questions and my channeled answers, and I am not even going to lie. I am the most excited that I have been to do an AMA. I think first and foremost, all the questions that you guys have brought to me were so interesting, and that's why I love doing these AMAs, because you're bringing me topics that I myself would not necessarily think to look into. But man, oh man, when we get into it and we start uncovering the truth behind the veil, this shit just tickled me. So I don't think I've ever been this excited. And I'm gonna also share that even if you think there is a topic that you're not gonna be interested in, and there are gonna be timestamps down below so you can hop around, I'm going to encourage you, if you can, to watch it all the way through, because there's juicy tidbits in absolutely everything that I channeled. Okay, so I'm really going to encourage you, if you can, just, put it on, let it go while you're doing your makeup or you're cleaning your kitchen or you're preparing dinner or whatever it is. It's gonna be a wild ride, but it's gonna be worth it. Now, I'm also going to share, or as a reminder for anybody that is new here or anybody that thinks that maybe my policy has changed, it hasn't. If your question was not answered, it does not mean that first and foremost I haven't written it down. I have. I keep actually a running list of all of the topics that you guys ask me to look into. When something is looked into, it gets a check mark, and if it is not looked into, it automatically will carry over to the next Ask Me Anything. So I am committed to the information and to looking into the topics that you guys bring. So take heart. If it was not answered herein, it does not mean it's not going to get answered at all. And the example that I've used in other AMAs is, imagine, if you will, I don't know, like you're handing out flyers. So you're walking down the block and you're handing out flyers to all the residents that live on a block. You get to a particular door, you're knocking on it, you're waiting, nobody's coming. Are you gonna stand around and wait if you're not even sure that they're home? Maybe they're in the back, maybe they're gardening. So you might just leave the flyer or put it in the mailbox and move on and not stick around. It's kind of like that. When I have all of these juicy topics to look into, I wait for no one. But again, I will carry it through automatically to the next AMA. There actually are things that were requested in previous AMAs that I have gotten to now. So just to prove to you how committed I am to the information. Now, I'm also just gonna say before we dive in, that these AMAs tend to run long. There's a lot of information that has been coming in. So it's not possible to remember 3 hours worth of channeled information. So I will be referring to my notebook. There's a hell of a lot of information that came in this time. And do I ever aspire to not necessarily need a notebook? No, not really. Do I aspire to be the most polished and professional YouTuber? No, not really either. I aspire to get my skin to look the best that it can so I can stop wearing makeup when I do these videos, maybe just a little mascara, call it a day. I aspire to wear joggers and lounge clothing every day for the rest of my life. Those are my aspirations. But do I aspire to not use a notebook? No, not particularly. But I know that you guys are not here because I'm super polished, and as I affectionately refer to myself, I am just the hand that holds the pen that takes down the notes of the channeled information. You guys are not here for me. You guys are here for my guides and the goods that they bring from the other side. And guess what? So am I. So let's have fun with it, whether or not I'm reading from a notebook. And with that, let's dive in. So, as I had said, there are carries through from previous requests from AMAs. Here's one of them. This one was tucked in the middle of all of the channeled information on mental and health issues. So it kind of got lost in the fray. I was going back through my notebook and I found it, and here it is. So the question had come in, is Candace Owens controlled opposition? And this is what was shown to me about Candace Owens. I was directed to look at what she has said, to really look at it and see if it's something that benefits humanity or if it just benefits her. And that she is someone that feels her word is her honor, and if she intentionally deceives, then she would essentially be somebody with no honor. So she takes her prominent position in the world very seriously and approaches it with a sense of duty. She has this platform, and what can she say that is relevant, important, and empowering? She also experienced a real turning point for herself when she shared the information on these thingies, but it wasn't just the these thingy for the C19 thingy, it was where she was sharing information on all of these thingies, the schedules and what they are used for and why they were implemented and what was the history behind all of it. So she actually really experienced a turning point at that time, and it woke her up to the importance of her platform and the real good that she could be doing with it. She learned a lot and realized her influence and platform could really be used for the good. So it was not a clear-cut yes or no. It was more directed to look at the work that she has done, to look at the information that she brings forth, and in your own mind, don't take my word for it, in your own mind to reflect on if you feel what she has brought forth is benefiting humanity or if it's just benefiting her. So I hope that has answered your question on Candace Owens, and if not, please comment down below. Now, this is also a good time for me to remind you guys that the information is first and foremost going to vary in terms of the length. Some things are long, some things are short. Again, I'm just the hand that holds the pen and is dictating what the guides are bringing to me. Also, for anybody that is new, you're going to hear me say a lot what was shown to me. And that is because I go into a state of meditation prior to channeling any of the information. And then once I am in meditation, things are literally shown to me. And that is what the guides, my guides, are bringing to me. Sometimes I will also astral travel to see particular things. I can also remote view. Sometimes an emotion will come through because I'm also an empath. So there's a number of different methodologies in how I'm able to bring forth the information from the other side. So when I say what was shown to me, that's literally what is going on. It's what my guides have brought and shown to me. Okay? So for anyone new, if you were wondering why I say what was shown to me, because I say it a lot. Okay. The next question was about a singer by the name of Selena. And Selena had met an untimely demise because when she was like just really starting to hit like getting to her groove and like energetically and musically, she was taken out and crossed over by, I believe, the president of her fan club. So let's see what Selena's energy had to share. So she shared that she came into this incarnation to fulfill a dream. She felt she'd had so many previous incarnations where she was duty-bound to people, monarchies, religions, husbands, or jobs, and that there was no passion. There was no spice, and there was no pursuit of pleasure, and she yearned for a creative outlet. She was given the opportunity to come into this last incarnation as Selena and have what she felt have what she desired, which was to have the creative outlet and to be musically gifted. But it was on the condition that it would be for a short time and it would be taken from her early if she said yes. So this is also where I'm just going to pause and I'm going to reinforce this idea that the experiences that we have in our lifetimes are, yes, I'm not going to say predetermined. I'm going to say we have accepted the terms and conditions, right? Just like when you download a new app on your phone, you have to scroll through all the terms and conditions and you have to click a check and say that you agree to them. It's the same thing with the incarnations that we are coming in to have. We're agreeing to particular experiences. We're agreeing to specific circumstances that are going to be played out, certain lessons that we're going to have as well. We are agreeing to them in advance. So Selena meeting an early demise was not accidental. It was her agreeing to it because she wanted to come in and she wanted to express the desire, her passion and her desires musically. Now, she also shared that she does not regret the short life she had, and she is happy she had a chance to come in and shine. She's also already been reincarnated into a new life and doesn't feel particularly connected to the family that she has had as Selena. So I hope that that answers your question about Selena, and if not, please comment down below. Now, the next person I was asked to look into is a singer by the name of Chris Cornell. I believe I know he was in more than one band. I think he was also in Stone Temple Pilots and some other ones. And he also had left the earth plane in what some might say were suspicious circumstances. I believe it was through a hanging. Let's see what his energy had to share about that. So Chris Cornell shared he was absolutely stunned. He had been given soft warnings and hints, little innuendos to back off, but he never felt called to what he was looking into in this way before. He felt called to it in a way that he hadn't felt about anything before, and it made him feel alive and purposeful. He felt he was actually divinely directed to it, and therefore, despite the little warnings he had received, he had no intention of stopping. He was, however, floored that they had gone through with it and that they had taken him out. So according to him, he did not intentionally take himself off the earth plane. And off the earth plane, I mean being alive, he didn't do it intentionally. It wasn't him. It wasn't by his own hands, and it wasn't his own doing. Now, he says his only regret is that he had not finished the project he had been working on, but it's okay because justice is coming for those that are involved. And a few more little things he wanted to share with me. He said, first and foremost, the rumors about Chester Bennington's father are true. And who is Chester Bennington? He was, I believe, the lead singer of a band called Linkin Park. Now, if you want to take to Google, if you are not familiar with what these rumors may be, look at pictures of Chester Bennington. Look at pictures of Chester Bennington. This is why I have notes. Look at pictures of Chester Bennington and then Google rumors of who his father is. You will see a picture of that person come up. Look at them side by side. Come to your own conclusion, okay? But this is according to Chris Cornell. He has shared that the rumors about who his father actually is are in fact true, in case you were wondering. Now, he also shared that Chester was taken out for the same reasons that we might think. And he also shared that he's not alone on the other side, as there are many celebrities that have crossed over and are there. But no, he is not going to reveal who. This is Chris saying it. He's not going to reveal who. He said it's not something we're meant to know right now, or we would all know. So he won't ruin the surprise. Now, he also shared with me that he loves how I talk about vibrations, frequency, and energy because it is all true. He also said he doesn't mind so much being on the other side because he's been reunited with a lot of loved ones and good people that were gone too soon. He appreciates all the well wishes and inquiries into his well-being and shares that he is in fact good. He encourages everyone to always hug your loved ones and tell them you love them because you never know when is the last time you will see them. And he wanted to finish off almost as an afterthought by sharing with me, U2's Bono is not a good man. So I hope that answers your question on Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington. And if not, please comment down below. Now, this next person, I'm not to play favorites, but I actually found her energy to be almost out of everyone I have looked into, with perhaps even Joan Rivers. I actually found her energy to be the absolute most refreshing. She is honest, she is open, she is just like a breath of fresh air looking into her energy. There was no like trying to conceal things. It was like, it felt like I was just talking to an old girlfriend. And I'm actually talking about Jessica Simpson. Really enjoyed looking into her energy. Really enjoyed the information that she had brought forth. And this is it. So first and foremost, as soon as I had connected to her energy, she threw up her hands as if she was exasperated, and she said, finally! She was so glad that somebody was finally interested in her again. However, she then wanted to acknowledge she's been out of the spotlight in raising a family, and she shared it almost as a justification as to why no one has been looking into her energy lately. So she kind of felt like she didn't want to make herself seem as if she was like not a relevant person, or that she didn't have anything really interesting to share with me. It was just more to like acknowledge, hey, I've been out of the scene for quite some time. That's probably why nobody's come looking around and wanting to connect with me. Now, she shared with me that her marriage with Nick Lachey was one of the marriages broken up by Hollywood powers that be. And that she also cannot be in the same room or in the same place as Nick because she cannot believe she let them. Now, if this is the first you're hearing about this and you want to learn more about it, I'm going to link the video that I had done on the Hollywood industry down below, because there is important context and information shared therein if you want to understand the way that Hollywood works behind the veil, and that yes, they can actually break up marriages. They can put people together, they can break people apart, they can do whatever the fuck they want. You're nothing more than a commodity. You're like a chess piece on a chessboard, and they play with you as such. She also shared with me she's horrified at what Hollywood is genuinely and truly like, and what goes on behind the scenes. She had no idea what it was like, but she also shared that she was young and naive, and her father was very power hungry. Her father had had no problem selling out both of his kids, and had he had more, he would try to sell those out as well. It made her father feel like a powerful broker negotiating the terms and discussing contracts that pertained to his children. And it was no exception with Jessica. She also shared, she wanted to also acknowledge with me that she realized she was no exceptional talent, but she had some things going for her. She was cute and wholesome, and also realized that at some point her career was going to fizzle out. Again, she's not particularly talented. She's not the greatest singer. She's not, I don't think she dances at all. She had like maybe one or two little acting roles, nothing major. What did she have going for her? She was a clean-cut, cute, wholesome woman, or girl when she first hit the scene. So while her career would fizzle one day, breaking up her marriage to Nick Lachey was the trade for her success with her shoes and her clothing line. She also shared with me that she almost felt she couldn't say no because there were so many hands in her pot that was part of the deal, and to say no to it would be to let all of those people down. So she expanded on this. What does it mean to have all of those hands in your pot? So she basically was sharing with me that the reason celebrities are paid insane amount of money is for two reasons. A, it's to buy their silence. you are now in the club, so you cannot speak out against the club. And B, no one who is not in the industry sees or knows how many people are involved in the deals that are being made. And everybody gets a cut. So there's managers, there's agents, there's record or studio executives, because they get a cut too, apparently. There's parents and tons of other people behind the scenes that we never know anything about. So they have to be paid extremely well, or there would actually be nothing left for the artist at the end. And you got to pay for the artist to keep their mouth shut, and they're in the club. So you got to line all of the pockets of all of the other people that are involved in the deal and make sure that there's ample money left over for the artist at the end, or why would they even agree to it? Now, she did express gratitude for being older and not coming into the industry now. At her time, they were looking for people that could be multi-hyphenates and to siphon money off of them because of it. And what are multi-hyphenates? Those are the people, for example, like the Jessica Simpsons, and even I would say like the Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez is a singer, hyphen, an actor, hyphen, a skincare guru, hyphen, a clothing brand person, hyphen, multi-hyphenates. Gwen Stefani is another example of a multi-hyphenate, right? Gwen Stefani is a singer, then she has her clothing line and she has her perfume line. All of these people have all of these different like side projects, if you will. And the purpose of that, as Jessica had shared, is they were looking to have these multi-hyphenate people because it was a way of siphoning money. It's siphoning money off of all of the people that are giving their business to these multi-hyphenates. So anytime, this is me personally, it's 2%, that's opinion. Anytime I go into like a Marshall's or a TJ Maxx and I see there's, even if it's cute, there's a bag or shoes from Jessica Simpson or from any celebrity, I will not buy it. I will not give my money to the celebrities because this is what the purpose of it all was for. It's to siphon our money off of us. So I choose not to give my money to them, knowing that it is siphoning our attention and our money, our hard-earned money, that is so severely taxed all the way down the line. Whatever is left, I'm not giving to them. Again, 2% opinion, do with that whatever you will. You do what you want with your money. No one's here throwing shade. Now, she also shared with me that anyone that is joining the club now has to be agendized. And that despite your personal opinion on things, on the actual talent's personal opinion on things, even if the talent doesn't agree, it doesn't matter because they will just take them off the world and replace them with a clone, which is either something they did not do during her day or it was not something that they felt they needed to as she was so amenable. So she's not sure why they didn't particularly do it with her, other than to share that she was amenable and they didn't have to, or maybe it was something that they didn't do at that time. And then when she had kind of like reflected on it further, she had actually shared with me that Eminem was a turning point in that they realized there was no actual need in keeping the artist around. And I will link other AMAs in which I have done where I've spoken about Eminem. So if you want further context on why Eminem was the turning point, you can kind of catch up and be brought up to speed on that. And also, just as an aside, I've heard from some of you guys that you will watch my videos more than one time because every time you do, you actually will glean something new from it. And I kind of actually have to agree because what I've started to do is like, I don't watch TV. So my only real form of entertainment is YouTube, which is also why I'm on YouTube. I genuinely like the platform and I like the other content creators that are on here. And if sometimes there's just nothing interesting that's on there, I'll go back and I'll watch some of my old videos. And so first and foremost, just it's interesting if you want to have the experience of kind of seeing like how far I've come. in the beginning, there was like a lot of dead space. There was a lot of like ums and ands, because I was not really comfortable speaking, basically looking at myself on a phone. But even so, going back and watching my old videos, I'm like, hot damn, these videos are good. So if you're bored, if you have some free time, go back. They're really, first and foremost, just entertaining. And the information is really hot. So it's the guides, it's not me, there's no ego involved. I'm the hand that holds the pen. But the information that has been brought forth, even in my earlier videos, was so good. So go back and rewatch them if ever you are bored and have nothing to do. Okay, 2% opinion. Let's go back to Jessica. Now, interestingly enough, she also admits that she did have a drinking problem. Now, here's another fun thing you can do with YouTube. I have done this at times, and it actually is really, really funny. I mean, it's funny and it's sad, because now I know why it was happening. It's sad, but at the time, not knowing, it was really, really fucking funny. Go back and put in the search term, Jessica Simpson drunk interviews. You will laugh your fucking ass off when you watch how shit-faced she is doing interviews. It's really fucking funny. It's funny not knowing, it's sad now knowing. But if you just want to have like a good laugh, go back and watch it. It's actually really entertaining. But here's why it's actually sad. She said she did have a drinking problem, and it was because she could not easily live with herself. First and foremost, because of what had happened with Nick, and that she allowed them to break up their marriage. And later, because she had had severe anxiety after becoming a mother. She initially had felt they were irrational fears pertaining to horrible things that could potentially happen to her kids. But then, in light of what she now knows happens in the club, they're not so irrational. She also shared with me it's hard for her not to have a drink knowing what she knows and seeing what she has seen. She also said whether or not people believe what goes on in Hollywood, the proof that it is actually in fact demonic is that stars sell their souls and they all know about what goes on, but no one does anything against it or even seems to be affected by it. She said there are a lot less people around than used to be, but she didn't want to expand on that as she has lost some people too. She did finish up by saying she really did love Nick, but it was more the first kind of puppy love way that we love, but they weren't really built to last. And while she says she gets that may sound as a justification for what she did, it's not. And she just wants us to know. So that was my very refreshing interaction with Jessica Simpson, and I hope that it has answered any question you may have, and if not, please comment down below. Now, I was asked to do an update on the music industry, and I'm going to do it right now, but I'm also, yes, I'm going to link the video I have done previously in the music industry, so you can go back and watch that as well if you want to. But here is the update of what is currently happening. The industry has been, this is the word that came through, decimated. The music industry has been decimated. This is why I need notes, so I can share with you the specific words and the nuances of all the information that comes in. Because when a specific word like this comes in, and I'm putting it in quotation marks, it's to drive a particular point home, that the music industry has been decimated. And what we are seeing being played out is a purge of all the dark demonic energies coming out at once. So imagine, if you will, really, 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 really bad acne. It's like cystic acne. It's all coming forth onto the top of the skin. But then once that can be cleared out properly, the skin will be clean and clear. So it's kind of like a bad acne explosion, but after that, the skin will be clear. The industry will be clear. It has to be purged and it has to come out so that there's nothing left for later. So all the agendas are being promoted in a super obvious way at this time, and that when we see them, to rejoice, because with the expansion and expulsion of them on a public level, we will then know that the industry, as well as the world, will soon be free of it. So I hope that answers any question you have about the music industry and an update on it, and if not, please let me know down below. Next, I was asked to look into Kelly Clarkson. Now, Kelly Clarkson is now a household name. I think she has like a talk show, but she initially rose to fame by winning one of the early seasons of, it's one of those singing competitions that's on TV. I honestly, I can't even remember what it's called, but she won one of the early seasons, maybe like America's Got Talent, or it was a singing competition. That's how she initially rose to fame. Let's see what she wanted to share or not share, because she was not very forthcoming at all. Like there was Jessica Simpson that was like, hey girlfriend, sit down, we gotta talk. And then there was Kelly Clarkson, day and night. But she did share some things. So she shared with me that she does not want to admit she's part of the club, and that her success is in any way associated with it. She blinked long and hard, kind of like this. She blinked long and hard as if trying to block it all out. And on her part, it's equal part denial of what goes on, as well as the fact that she just doesn't want to admit that her success has anything else than to do with her talent. She doesn't like how political, her word, the industry is, and that who actually becomes successful has very little to do with who is actually talented. And that it is an affront to all the genuine talents who never make it. And that is all she wanted to say about that. So I hope that answers your question on Kelly Clarkson, and if not, please comment down below. This is also why I say watch all the way through, because there's a lot of things that one person shares that are expanded on by another person later on. You're going to see what I mean. But watch, seriously, if you can, watch it all the way through. She's sharing some tidbits here that are going to connect to some things that were shared later on. Okay. The next person I was asked to look into is Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman is a child star. He is no longer a celebrity. He, I feel like, has tried to come out multiple times over the years, and he's tried to like share what has happened, to varying degrees of no level of success. It's just getting brushed aside. It's just getting brushed under the rug. So he really is, he's a tortured soul. And actually, when I first connected to his energy, this is the first thing that I wrote. Poor Corey Feldman. He's very much a child trapped in a grown man's body, energetically frozen in time. He said he and Corey Haim, which was another child star that is no longer with us, were both passed around like party favors, and everyone wanted a piece of them. They were the two Coreys, one blonde-haired, one black-haired, both adorable, and everyone wanted a piece of them. He feels his childhood was taken away from him, and he was robbed of having a normal life because he is forever haunted by what was done to him. There is no drink or drug strong enough to make him forget. And he said to me, "You can't even begin to imagine what was done to him, and for that to be grateful." Now, as thoughts began to go through my mind, as I was thinking about what could have possibly have been done to him, He said that and so much worse. He feels there is no peace waiting for him in his life, and that he is only still here because he wants to publicly see the truth come out. He also shared that Demi Moore is an absolutely disgusting human being. That is what I have to share with the energy of Corey Feldman. Please comment down below if you have any further questions on that. With that in mind, we're going to move on to Keanu Reeves. Keanu Reeves, this is what had come in, is a highly evolved soul. There's something otherworldly about him, yet he still feels human to me. So this is where I was just reading the energy on him before I had made actual contact with him and had started to energetically conversate with him. He actually he kind of to me felt like a counterbalance to the crazy over-the-top excessive sharing of social media, because he's private and he has always lived a private life. He doesn't publicize his life or his success, his hurts, and he just likes to live and live very generously with the people in his life. So I was kind of looking for clarification, and I was shown he's very, very generous when he works with people on sets. He's not somebody that just shows up on set and will only talk to the director and the co-stars. He's a real person. He'll talk to I don't know anything about the industry, but he'll talk to the lighting people, and he'll talk to the grip, I don't know what they're called, grip, I really know nothing about the industry. But whoever is on set, he will actually take the time to engage with and to talk to them. He's not some, asshole who just shows up and he's just going to talk to the other A-listers. He'll actually take the time to talk to and connect to everybody. And he forms close relationships with them as well. Now, there is also something that's quite detached about him, where he wants to remain unknown. And at this time, he had actually given me, or in my mind's eye, he had tossed a Rubik's Cube to me. And he said, here, figure this out first. As a way of saying, figuring out a Rubik's Cube would be easier than figuring him out. He is the total opposite of Jessica Simpson, who was so excited to chat with me and to share, and Keanu Reeves is the complete opposite. He'd rather not share, and he'd rather just live. So I hope that answers any question that you have on Keanu Reeves, and if not, comment down below. Now, the next person who is actually a brilliant counterbalance to Keanu Reeves, not in the best possible way, is an actor by the name of Alec Baldwin. If you don't know who Alec Baldwin is, I'm going to give you a crash course. Okay, first and foremost, Keanu Reeves, actor. Alec Baldwin, also an actor, gets into a lot of fights with the paparazzi, and recently was on filming a movie and had actually used a gun in a run through of a scene, and had taken off the earth plane. I think I have to be more careful with the words that I choose, so I'm not going to say the most obvious ones. I'm going to kind of dance around them, but had taken off the earth plane someone that was working on the film, a crew member. So let's see what Alec Baldwin's energy wanted to share with me. As you can imagine, his energy came through very much the way we perceive him to be on the outside looking in. Alec Baldwin is brash and a bully. He feels he is part of Hollywood royalty and therefore can behave any way he chooses to. He said his family built Hollywood, and therefore I, as in me, Faye, better believe he can behave any way he wants to. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, or if this is just his arrogance claiming that his family had built Hollywood. If you know, please comment down below. But he claims that his family built Hollywood. Now, he also doesn't think there's anything wrong with the way that he behaves. Yes, he's brash. Yes, he's a bully. There's nothing wrong with it, in his opinion. He has no qualms with being misunderstood, his word, as that's the other person's problem. He does not see himself clearly, but he also doesn't know that he doesn't see himself clearly, and he also doesn't care. He just feels he has a sense of entitlement to be who he is and to act as he does because of his family. He also shared with me that he still hates Kim Basinger, who was his first wife. He has a adult child. I believe she's in her 20s at this point. He has an adult child with her, but they went through a very public and very contemptuous divorce playing out on the world stage. And he shares he still hates her. He also shared about his current wife, Hilaria, that she is getting exactly what she wants, an elevated life and kids. And that lastly, he shared he was just doing his part with the shooting on set, but he refused to expand on it. So my interaction with Alec Baldwin was very surface and an uninspiring interaction. I hope that answers any question you have on Alec Baldwin, and if not, please comment down below. Next person I was asked to look into, and this has carried through from multiple AMAs that I was asked about, is someone by the name of John of God. Genuinely fascinating. So for anyone who doesn't know who John of God is, he was someone that was one of the Oprah's best friends. And he is a supposed healer that could touch people and heal them of their ailments. And now recently, there's a lot of things that have come to pass about his personal life, which have landed him in prison. And I'm not sure, I think he was actually found to be guilty of, I want to say maybe having non-consensual sex with someone. And there's been allegations surrounding him that this has happened repeatedly. And I think he's actually currently in prison because of that. You're, of course, because I don't research the topics that I look into, you are, of course, free and welcome to Google anything that I speak about herein if you want to gain a greater actual three-dimensional explanation about what is going on in their life. Because up here on this station, we are peeling back the three-dimensional veil, and we're looking at what is going on the other side. And this is what John of God shared with me. He felt untouchable. He felt he was doing God's work, except that his God and our God are not the same. And because of that, he felt protected by the cabal because he was doing his part in keeping Earth's vibration down. He had his women. He would keep them as long as he wanted to, get rid of them whenever he wanted to, with or without cause, which always scared the other women. He'd also had kids with them for trafficking purposes, which is devastating to the women that were having these children. And he had also made all of these women available for anyone that visited. He had a harem of women. So if women were disappearing, some of them were invariably ending up by his compound, which I believe is located somewhere in South America. He had a harem of women. They were his to play with, and they were his to use. And he would propagate, bring forth into the world new souls into these the traffic on the bus with the children. He didn't have a soul or a soul connection or feeling connected, like these are his children. He couldn't care less. He would just bring these souls into this world and send them forth into the world to have whatever was going to be done to them. He had no connection to them. He cared not one bit that they were his own. Again, going against the normal human instincts, which are to protect and to protect your own, he had none of them. And here's why. He was quite demonically possessed, and he did a lot of rituals on his property. This is something new that I had never seen before. A lot of them also centered around moon cycles and women's cycles, and that there were a lot of sacrifices around this time. Both grown women as well as babies. He directed me to a scene in the Indiana Jones movie. I think it was called Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where there was a sacrifice scene in the film. And he asked me rhetorically, where do I think Hollywood gets all their ideas from? He said it's from them. And what he would do is welcome up-and-comers in the industry down to his property in South America, and he would show them things and dazzle them, but whoever was coming down didn't realize they were essentially owned thereafter. And again, he directed me to a scene in that same film, Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, where there is a scene where the guests at a dinner are fed monkey brains. And he said the Indiana Jones movies share a ton of reveals. We just have to stop seeing it through the lens of fiction, and then we can see what the reveals are. Specifically the scene where they were eating monkey brains, but that the people that were coming down to his compound and were being wined and dined were not fed monkey brains, but human brains. He said, once you can get someone to commit cannibalism, they are done. You own them whether they know what they have eaten or not. And I'm sorry, he also expanded on that and he said, they have been doing this to the population, general population, for years, and that's why, his words, everyone is so stupid and asleep. It's because they have been hijacked. And he still cannot believe that people have not figured this out yet. I'm debating if I should add 2% opinion here. I'm not. It's because it's not relevant opinion. It's just opinion for the sake of opinion. So I'm not going to actually add it. Oh, what the hell, I will. Okay. There's near me a McDonald's. This is 2% personal opinion. I don't care what you do on your time. I don't care if you eat McDonald's. This is my channel. I can share my opinion. There's actually a few McDonald's relatively close to where I live, and I'm still genuinely surprised with how awake I feel the world is starting to become, because there are such long lines at the drive-through for McDonald's. I'm genuinely surprised. Sometimes they're like a snake. They're weaving like out of the parking lot and it's like backing up onto the street. I'm genuinely surprised by that. Now, do I think it's possible that some of the methodologies he's talking about is through places such as McDonald's? Yes, sure. And here's why. McDonald's is proud of the fact that they have fed how many billions of people? Like, what is it? Like over 10? No, it can't be 10 billion. That's more than the population on Earth. I think they have shared that they have fed like over 2 billion people already. What is one of the best ways than to get this methodology in which you can own people than through cheap fast food? And then we wonder why everybody is still so asleep, and it's because of these gems that he is sharing with us. Once people are engaging in cannibalism, they're owned. Now, I'm also going to say, this is the end of the 2% personal opinion, I'm also going to say that this further to me proves the fact that he is completely demonically possessed, because we don't know what is happening to his own children as well. His own children could That could be them. Again, there is no human instincts left in him because he has been demonically taken over and possessed. He doesn't care what happens to his kids. He doesn't care if they are trafficked. He doesn't care if they end up literally being consumed. There's no concern on his part. Okay, let's keep moving on. He also cannot believe that he was ever shut down and held accountable. It's a joke to him because he said everyone knew what he was doing, especially the officials where he lived. They loved to come over and act out their fetish fantasies with the women in his harem, and that no one genuinely cared because they all looked out for one another. So the fact that they got shut down after all he had done is an affront to the years of service that he put into the cabal. But he did also share that the cabal does turn on their own from time to time, as they did with Harvey Weinstein and himself, and that the cabal does this to keep people on their toes and to let everyone know it doesn't matter who you are or how high up in the club you think you are no one to the cabal. You are expendable. And that they do this every once in a while to keep people on edge. He also shared with me that, of course, Harvey Weinstein was connected. So how did he ever get taken down? It was with the consent of the people on top. Otherwise, it would not have gotten out what he had done, and he never would have been convicted either. I hope that answers any questions that you have on John of God, and any questions that you did not have on McDonald's as well. This is the end of that notebook. We're going to now move on to the next one. And I'm just going to share all the juicy information that had come in this next notebook. We're almost an hour in, and we've got so much goodies to get through too. Please also, I just want to go back and say, if you do eat McDonald's, it makes no difference to me. I mean, other than me wanting to look out for your vibration, because the more of us are awake and the higher our vibration is ultimately rising, then the quicker energetically Earth can actually start to change. But really, it's you do you, boo. There's no judgment over here. It's just like, you know, we're all in this together. When you know better, you can do better, right? Like, it's not to say that I haven't eaten shit. I've eaten a lot of shit too. It's just to say, now that I know better, I'm doing better. That's all. Okay. So this next one is, next person I was asked to look into is on Nicole Kidman. Now, Nicole Kidman is an actress. She's originally from Australia, but she now resides in the United States. She was first married to Tom Cruise, and she is now married to a singer by the name of Keith Urban, for anybody that wants to know. So Nicole Kidman was shown to me as being in an icebox. Sometimes looking out forlornly, sometimes banging out on the ice windows, and sometimes sitting with her knees hugged into her chest. Acting was for her an outlet that otherwise she would have completely have been shut down. She always appeared icy in interviews because that was her default setting. Now, why was that her default setting? She grew up competing for her father's attention, but not with siblings, but with his work and his projects. So for anyone who wants to know more about her father, he was, I believe, a prominent psychologist in Australia. There have recently been allegations brought forth against him by people that were under his care, and he had, I believe, run off, I'm not sure, somewhere in Asia, I believe. He had run off to somewhere in Asia, and then he had died of a heart attack, I believe. So she was always competing for his attention, for his work and his projects. And why? Because his family felt like a burden to him. Because his work was where he shined. He loved getting, this is Nicole's father, he loved getting into the dark parts of someone's mind. He loved extracting painful memories that they had and the distress that it caused them to recall them, and energetically rolled around in it like a pig in shit. He was the kind of person who enjoyed clouds and shielded his eyes against the sun. Happy, sweet, felt banal to him. But doom and gloom was where he felt most at home. His work was where he shined. He wanted to bring up painful memories that a person had, see the distress that it would cause them, and then roll around in it like a pig in fucking shit. So, being a parent and dealing with his little ones was a chore. He would rather direct his focus to the dark inside of his clients, and Nicole very much grew up feeling iced out of his life because of it. Now you can also imagine if this is her father, he wasn't all happy-go-lucky when he was being a parent neither. Now, when I had asked her if the allegations about her father were true, she did this. She shielded her eyes, but she conceded that, quote, he got what was coming to him, end quote. He had turned too much to the dark and lost himself in it and could not find a way back out. There was too much ill will built up against him, and he was no longer being discreet. And while he had protection, he was burning through it. She says she didn't see it at the time because she was too shut down, but she was, her word, a reward to Tom Cruise. Because of her father's contributions, and she was exactly the kind of girl that Tom liked. Young, innocent, naive, and would never pose a threat to Tom or his control. Now, for anyone who doesn't know, I have done a Behind the Veil energy read on Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes. Link down below. You can go back and you can watch that as well. Now, she also acknowledged while she did grow up under Tom, it was always in the direction he wanted her to grow. He liked his control. It's now that she stopped. No, it's now that she stopped. It's now that yes, here we go. Because stopped and stepped sometimes in Faye's handwriting world can look the same. It's now that she stopped to point out that she had a gilded cage. And not to be deceived by what we see in Hollywood or on TV, because many, if not all of those people, are living in a disempowered and disembodied state. Going through the motions of having a meaningful life while they've all sold off such fundamental parts of themselves and their soul that they don't even enjoy it. She also wanted to point out that she realized that this could sound ungrateful and she didn't want to come across as such. So again, she stopped to say that she did have a nice house and nice things, and she did get to experience a kind of life that most could only dream of. And there were good moments mixed in between, but that's all they were. Moments. She said the happiest times of her life was when she started to expand in her career and in her life, but that was also mixed with the hardest time in her life, because that's when her marriage to Tom was starting to end. But it was also the first time she was starting to feel again. She was starting to have emotions. She was so iced out for the first part of her life. So it was the first time that she was starting to feel, and she acknowledged that her growth was in fact a threat to Tom, as he liked his women more submissive. Ironically, her career growth, she shared, was a reward for her being such a loyal companion to Tom, but that was also what had broken them apart. She did not want to share what she had had to do to prevent herself from being blacklisted. Because yes, that could have happened when her marriage to Tom Cruise had ended. She did not want to share what she had to do to prevent herself from being blacklisted, other than to share that there's separate factions coexisting in Hollywood that have power. There's the Scientologists and the others. And this I did not know. And when she broke up with Tom, while she was no longer under the protection of Scientology, she was able to survive and not get blacklisted by transferring her membership, so to say. I guess she transferred it over to the other powers that be in Hollywood. She shared with me that meeting Keith Urban was nice and he was not threatening, which was also nice after what she had been through, and that's what she needed. She also preemptively got out ahead of any question I was going to ask, which was, of course, Keith Urban is in the club. If you know, and how do you know he's in the club? This is for anyone and here's how. If you know someone's name, but you do not personally know them, it's because they are in the club. Anybody in the industry, in the music industry, in the movie industry, if you don't know them personally, but you know their motherfucking name, it's because they're in the fucking club. Now, she did, however, also volunteer that he is not very high up in the club, and she isn't either anymore. But that's fine with her, because so much of her life was spent living for other people, so it's nice to actually live for herself for a change. I hope that answers any question that you have on Nicole Kidman. If not, please comment down below. Now, interestingly enough, while I was wrapping it up with Nicole Kidman, someone's energy had come through with me that was not even actually on the list. And it was at this point that Cameron Diaz pushed her way in to have a chat with me. And this is what Cameron Diaz wanted to share. Cameron Diaz bragged and said, I would not believe the things she had done to join the club. She was actually incredibly proud of it. And when my mind went to things that could have been done with children, she immediately pushed that thought away, balked at it, and said she was no freak, although she obviously knew about all of that. So then what had she done to join the club? She was rather proud of how she allowed herself to be used sexually, and that she would put some porn stars to shame. She also allowed herself to be taken over by entities time and again, and that she was like a party favor and entertainment because she was a beautiful young woman inhabited by a gross, this is her word, a gross beast of a thing, and people found that hysterical because most people were at least a little picky about who they would let in, but not her. Okay, so if for anybody that's watching this, you're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm going to expand on it just a little bit, which is when we are not discerning with the environments that we put ourselves into, or the people that we are hanging out with, or the people that we're having sexual relations with, we are essentially lowering our vibration to be with them. And if you are engaging in a lot of sexual activities, well, not you, I mean for anyone, again, you do you, no, there's no judgment here. But for anybody that is engaging in a lot of like hookup culture, we are taking on a lot of the energy of the other people, the partners that we've been with, and we're also taking on the energy of all of their partners as well. And when people are engaging in hookup culture, it's usually a pretty good indication of the fact that they're not energetically discerning. So there's a good chance that they have actually had sexual relations with someone that was inhabited. And then if you're, or anyone that's having sexual relations with that person, you are taking on some of that energy as well. Now, she was candid. Cameron Diaz was very, very candid about the fact that she was very, what were her exact words? She was proud of how she allowed herself to be used sexually, and that she would put some porn stars to shame. So she was also very energetically porous to begin with, because she was taking on a lot of that different kinds of energy. So her internal vibration had been lowered. Now, when you are in a compromised energetic state, that will actually allow you to be an energetic match for entities that are on the astral realm that want to come in and slide into you and take you over for a joyride. Because when they have a body, they're going to take that body on a fucking joyride. They're not taking it to church. And if you want to learn more about that, I have linked a video down below that I had just done on the astral realm and the entities that reside there. You can learn more about it therein. So she was very, very candid in sharing all of this with me and in tying all of these different pieces together to illuminate for us how all of these things are actually connected. She also shared she was completely open and porous and was rewarded very well for it. She says she earned more money than she thought possible, and actually she shared this too, way more than what was reported at first, though she did not want to talk. Oh, and that she also, here's the thing, she was sharing, basically there was a lot of things she was willing to share with me, and then there was some things that were like, not this. And my writing was just one long run-on sentence apparently, because I wasn't like putting a period or a comma. Okay, so she, let's try this again, Faye. She says she earned more money than she thought was possible, way more than has actually also been reported, period. However, she did not want to talk about her husband, but then did, only to say she never thought about the damage she had done to herself by being so open, but that her husband grounds her, and that was something she desperately needed. She was taking on a hell of a lot of energy. That's going to cause somebody to be really, really fundamentally dysregulated and to probably even lose touch with their fundamental soul identity. So she desperately needed the grounding that he was bringing to her. She also shared that all of her previous relationships, she was more of an oddity, because she was the girl who would do anything and was fun to have around, but that she was not ever actually seen for herself. But her husband does see her for herself. He wanted to get to know her, the real her, and that was refreshing and felt genuinely real to her. So I hope that answers any questions that you have had or may not have had on Cameron Diaz. And if not, please comment down below. Now, this next one is another carry through from previous AMAs. This is for you, Steve, because I know you really wanted me to look into this subject. And yes, you guys that have been here for a while, you know I'm like on a first name basis with you guys. Especially like if you comment, like if you have a handle but you tell me what your name is, and if like your handle is not your actual name, I see like, yeah, we're on a first name basis, you know? And even if we're not on a first name basis yet, I love and appreciate everybody that is here. We are now over an hour into this video. So please, first and foremost, I want to encourage you to give yourself a pat on the back. You're committed to the information. I salute you. I appreciate you. Even if I don't know your name yet, I will soon. Because that's just what we do over here on this channel. It's just, you know, we're just hanging out. We're just hanging out and talking. One day I'm going to do a live and we're really going to hang out and talk. But until then, we're just, you know, kind of hanging out and talking. So yes, this is for you, Steve. You had asked way back when if I could look into the energies of Owen, Hart, and Chris. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. Benoit. It's spelled Benoit. So I'm assuming it's Benoit. Maybe it's Benoit. I don't know. But I believe that these two are, I think they were like maybe wrestlers or in the WWE or WWF. I'm not entirely sure. This is what was shown to me about them. So Owen, and this is why I actually haven't shared up until now, because in the past, every time I would come to look into the energy, the same thing would happen. Owen, I'm just making sure I'm getting the names right. Owen would stand like he was a bouncer at a club, like a big ass motherfucking bouncer. So he would stand like with his legs slightly apart and he would stand like this, indicating to me, you're not getting past me. So what was different this time? I think he saw I was just going to be really, really persistent. So he acquiesced a little bit. So while he took the stand like he was a bouncer at a door in the club with a wide stance and arms crossed in front of his chest, he did also say this time, back up, bitch, this door isn't meant for you. However, from behind him, now imagine if you were at an actual club and there was a bouncer there, you would hear perhaps pulsating music coming through the door every time that it was open or closed, or you would feel the vibration of it, or you would hear, there would be, you know, signs of that there was music on the other side. In this case, what was the door he was guarding? It was not a club door, because this is what was emanating from behind him. From behind the black door, I could see a glowing light emanating. So imagine, if you will, you're standing outside of the bedroom door to one of your kids. You want to know if they're awake or not. You will see light coming out through the cracks on the door frame, around the door frame, and on the bottom by the floor. Same thing here, except he's not my kid. I wasn't checking, but I could see the same exact way that there was light emanating from behind the door, which I take to mean Chris is being healed right now. And that Owen is energetically keeping guard while Chris is being healed. Owen did allow this one thing to pass, which was, he said, their contribution is more than what they were known for on this side, but it is not meant to be, it's not meant to be known, and that they are fine with that. So I don't know a lot about them, so I can't even pretend that I can say this is going to make sense. So Steve, please come, or anyone else that knows about these people, please comment down below if you know what this is about and how this is in any way kind of like resonating, because I don't. Okay, so I hope that answers any questions that you've had on Owen, Hart, and Chris Benoit. And also, just to illuminate one more time, I really, really do keep a running list of notes. This was asked way back when. I've consistently gone back to it on occasion, not just when I was looking into this for the AMA. I've consistently, anytime there's a carryover, I will consistently go back and I will try to access the information. I think he just got tired of me coming around and he realized I was not going to stop. So he shared what he shared. Okay? So please comment down below with any questions you may have, and if not, we're going to move on. So this next person is George Bush Sr. Now, George Bush Sr. is a previous American president. He's called George Bush Sr. because his son, George W. Bush, I think he's George H. Bush, George W. Bush, was also a president a number of years later. I think George H. Bush, George Bush Sr., was president, I want to say in maybe like 1984 to 1988, I believe. And George W. Bush was president in 2000 until 2008. Okay, So this is what was shared to me by George H. Bush, or George Bush Sr. He shared with me that he was overwhelmed with the amount of proof they presented him with. He was naive in thinking, because he was part of the club, that what he had done would not have the potential to come back and bite him, but now understands that of course it was inevitable that it would. So who was presenting the information to him? Not the cabal. He was in the club. It's the white hats. And if you want to understand more about that, yes, there's a video I've linked down below. This is funny. I have a prolific amount of work behind me. So you want to know something, I probably already covered it. And if not, that's what these AMAs are for. But there is a video on the number 17, the 17th letter in the alphabet. It's the letter between P and R, and them and the cabal. So if you want to learn more about that, I've linked it down below. You can go back and you can see it. But there is the so-called dark hats, the black hats, which is the cabal, and there is the so-called white hats, which is the 17th letter of the alphabet. And right now we're kind of in like this precarious place in the world where we're ascending, and the 17th letter is more here to assure the ultimate ascension. It's to provide a quicker, smoother landing if you're in an airplane, so to speak, okay? So who was presenting the evidence to him? It was not the members of the cabal, because he was a member too. It was the members of the white hats. Okay. Just like the cabal kept a record to keep their foot soldiers and their generals in line, all that could equally be used against them if it ever got into the wrong person's hands. And in this case, the wrong person's hands was the white hats. He realized then that there was no point in denying anything because they had almost everything. So he decided to cooperate in full and to fill in the gaps and to get set. These are his, I think he had probably good writing skills, because the way he shared this with me was quite nice. He decided to cooperate and fill in the gaps and get sent off into the sunset gently. He also shared with me his funeral was used as a comm, or a communication, for anyone that was paying attention, and even for those that don't know. One day they will be able to look back and see, should they want to. So kind of like breadcrumbs for the future generations or future people who do wake up, they can look back and they can see what the comm was. And I believe there is actually more than one comm. And again, if you know, you know. And he said he is actually surprised at how resistant people are to waking up. See parts passing if you haven't on John of God. There's a reason it's been so hard for people to wake up. But he is genuinely surprised at how resistant people are to waking up, and it's not something he'd even thought about before. He said, for whatever it's worth, he is sorry, and that for him too, he was under some sort of mind control growing up because of the way he did. He shared that growing up the way he did, and he didn't want to expand on it, but growing up the way he did, they never learned to think about others, only their own, and that's why there is so much division in the world. What we see playing out is the cabal's blueprint, but even those that are in the club do not see it. So again, when we always talk about like vibrations and energy, like attracts like. I'm gonna do the crystal example again. I'm not retiring it because it works so well. I'm holding two crystals. Imagine these crystals are magnets. Okay. If they're both turned to the same polarity, or however it is that it works, then when you bring them towards one another, they're going to be attracted and they're going to come together and they're going to make like a audible clicking sound. But if you take one of those magnets and you turn them the other way, then the one that is coming towards it will actually repel it. Okay? So now this one has been turned the opposite direction. This one is coming in, and this one's gonna go away. This one comes in, it goes away. But when you turn it around this way, when you change the energetic vibration, if you will, they come together. So you want to know what someone's own personal vibration is, look at the world around them, because that will clue you in. Because like attracts like. Just like crystals that are on the same polarity will be drawn into one another, similarly too, things that are not on the same vibrational level will be repelled by one another. So we are in essence going to be a vibrational match for things that we are a vibrational match for. And anything that is not a vibrational match for us will automatically start to fall away. So this is what he was basically saying to me, that there is so much division in the world because up until now, the cabal has actually been in charge. And this is their own personal vibration. They are divisive, not inclusive. Now, he also wanted to share with me that there was no time to say goodbye, or that he was sorry to those that he loved. So he tried to express it in his letter at the funeral. Because this is why I looked into him in the first place, which is what was in the letter that was passed out to a few key players at the funeral. And there was letters given to George W. Bush, who was standing with his wife, and Jeb Bush was standing next to George W.'s wife. What's her name? Laura Bush. There was also letters given to Biden. There was letters given to the Obamas and the Clintons. Okay. So because there was no time to say goodbye, or that he was sorry to those he loved, he tried to express it in his letter at the funeral. It was succinct and to the point. He essentially said, "They know everything, I'm sorry." But he didn't love everyone that was going to get a letter, so he didn't add that part in. It's funny that he actually chose to share this with me. He also shared some he did not even like, and that's the thing about the club. You think if you're all on the same side, you're always going to get along, but that's simply not true. He said, he shared specific people with me. Thank you. Thank you, George. He said that was the case with the Obama fella. He didn't say which one. He just said the Obama fella. And while he could tolerate Bill Clinton, Hillary was one note with shifty eyes, always looking to work her way up and not willing to wait her turn. So that is what came through for George H. Bush, the elder Bush. I hope that answers any question you may have, and if not, please comment down below. Now, this is something that was not actually requested, but came in to me, and that is why I'm sharing it. It seems particularly notable, which is, where are the bees going? Because a few years ago, there was like this, a lot of like news reports that bees seem to be disappearing. The hives seem to be disappearing, and like what kind of negative side effect is that going to have for us here down on Earth? So I gotcha. Where are all the bees going? Now, this was actually a TikTok video somebody had shared with me, this first part, and this is how the information had come in with me, which is that beekeepers have the longest life expectancy. And I actually recently spoke to a beekeeper and I asked him if this is true, and he confirmed that he believes that this is in fact true. Now, the reason that he had given is different than the reason that was given in the video. I'll give both of them to you. But that the beekeepers have the longest life expectancy because bees emit a healing frequency. Now, the reason that was given to me by the actual beekeeper was that he said he says yes, when you're in their vibration, it's very like melodic and almost trance-like, and it puts you in like a different like vibration, so to say. But he said when he gets stung, he feels fantastic afterwards. Like he has arthritis, and then after he gets stung, his arthritis doesn't bother him for a couple of days. He's like, there's something to it. Now, so the bees do emit a healing frequency, and the cabal has been trying to, what the fuck did I write here? They have a healing frequency, and the cabal has not been trying to, wipe. Okay. The cabal has not been trying to wipe them out for us. Oh, this is where I'm going. Okay. The cabal has not been trying to wipe out the bees. What they actually have been doing is they have been taking the bees and transporting them to places in other dimensions. And they have been doing that for themselves, as those were the places they wanted to escape to if and when the shit hit the fan. So there were certain things, let's say, they could not take through portals and into other dimensions. What could they take? Bees. And since bees can heal with their healing frequency as well as their actual stings, they were taking large amounts of bees through the portals and into other dimensions. But, as I have shared previously, portals have been closed for entities both coming in and going out. So bees cannot be absconded any further. Now, this next question, so I hope that answers any questions that you had or did not have about bees, and if not, comment down below. So this next question is about Islam, the religion of Islam. And this is what was shown to me. And this also has carried through multiple Ask Me Anythings. And because I don't want to make it seem like it's like I'm focusing specifically on Islam right now. Islam was specifically asked for me to look into. However, I have done a video on the Cabal and religion, link down below. You can check that out if you want to for further information as well. But this is what was shown to me. Islam was shown to me as being veiled, both figuratively as well as literally. And here's why. The women are veiled, but it's not for the reasons that are stated. They're veiled to suppress the power of women, and that it is designed to keep women down, and even them not being able to leave their house without a male chaperone is to take away their independence and to make them dependent on males, all while eradicating their identity. Because if they're veiled and women are going out into a sea of other women that are also veiled, tell me how the fuck are you expect to recognize a friend that you have? You simply can't. Because of this, the religion of Islam was shown to me as being an echo chamber, as it does not allow in new voices or perspectives. Energetically, by keeping women down, they are throwing off the energetic balance on Earth. Much the same way, this has also been done in the West by liberating women from the home, but that was only done to turn them into corporate slaves, in which their energy would be siphoned from, and then thus by creating birth control, and later by normalizing hookup culture, which only threw feminine energy off because it was freely and easily siphoned from them. It was, if you will, a different coat and a different costume, but the same perp. It's the same criminal. He just changed. He wanted to obfuscate his identity. So in the first crime that he committed, he had a beard and long hair. So what did he do? He shaved off his beard and he cut his hair. He looks different, but it's the same fucking criminal underneath. Which is who? The Cabal. This was orchestrated by the Cabal because all religions have been corrupted. And I said this in the video on religion. It's not Islam that's been corrupted. It's not just Islam that's been corrupted. It's all religions. It's Christianity, it's Judaism, it's probably even fucking Buddhism, every fucking religion. It's definitely Buddhism because I shared that in the last AMA about the Dalai Lama. Every fucking religion. So it's not about this one, it's not about that one. They're all fucking the same. Now, what's particularly interesting and notable, which is, I'm just going to bring attention to this now, the way that they are choosing to throw off the energetic balance of the feminine and the masculine is done through different ways. So in Islam, it's done through veiling women and to suppress their energy and to keep them down. But how is it done in the West? It was through so-called liberating women. They've now been liberated from the home. They can go out into the workforce. They have now been liberated because there's birth control and they can go have all the sex they want to have. They have been liberated through the so-called normalization of hookup culture. We're all fucking free. Are we really all fucking free though? Because all of this was done to throw off the energy of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. Okay? Different perp. Same perp, different costume, if you will. So I hope that that answers any questions that you have on Islam, and if not, please comment down below. Now this next one is, it's a bit dark. So I want to put that forth first so you know before we start to actually get into it. But I'll tell you what it is, and then you can decide if you want to skip ahead and if you don't want to see it. This was on a crime that took place in, I believe, Austin, Texas. Back in, I can't remember if it was the 80s or I actually had to look into this, like the three-dimensional information. But this was a quadruple homicide that had happened. And again, I'm going to dance around this. It was at a yogurt shop called I Can't Believe It's Yogurt. And basically what had happened was that there were 4 teenage girls in a yogurt shop, and there was one girl that was the oldest, and she was, I think the manager, she was closing up for the night. And then the other ones were, I think, like maybe friends of hers. I'm not entirely sure. And first there was a fire had been called in, and once the fire department had gotten there, they realized that there were bodies inside. So let's explore what was going on there. Now, this was shown to me as the perpetrator of this crime was a grifter. So he either had no steady job and he moves around the country a lot, or his job is to be a truck driver and therefore he's also on the move a lot. It was hard to pin it down on, and the reason it's hard to pin it down was because he has no set MO or modus operandi, but I can tell you he has definitely been the perpetrator of other crimes before, and yes, other homicides as well. And the reason he has no set MO or modus operandi is that, and why they can't find somebody similar to connect it to, is again because there's no similar modus operandi. And why was there no MO? Because the crimes to him are all like souvenirs. And any of the places that he goes, he likes to commit different crimes and different things and explore what he can do and what he can get away with. Lovely. And everything seemed so senseless about it, except when it's viewed through the lens of concealment. Because setting the shop on here's the thing. Okay, so there was homicides, and at least one of the girls were sexually assaulted. And then there was a fire. Like, what the fuck? It just all seems like a mishmash. It all seems so random. But when you understand that it was done intentionally with him wanting to conceal it, it starts to make a little bit more sense. So the fire, setting the shop on fire, was to destroy evidence. The homicides of these young girls was to leave no witnesses behind. However, this is something notable. I don't believe his initial intention was to take all of them off the Earth plane. He had his eye on one of them. That was the one that had been sexually assaulted. He had his eye on that one specifically. But there were too many of these girls in the shop, and again, it was probably the last night that he had in Austin, Texas, before he was going to move on, and he just wanted to commit the crime. He just wanted to get it done. So, if you will, the other girls that were there were collateral consequence because he just couldn't leave any witnesses behind. So if you start to reverse engineer it, it starts to make more sense, right? The fire was set to destroy evidence and to conceal the crime. What was the crime? The crime was not the actual homicides. The sexual assault was the actual crime. But there were all of these other people that were there that witnessed it, and now he had to take them all out. Now, he also was shown to me as having no remorse, so he had basically, it was just all indifferent to him. One crime, all different crime, this crime, that crime, no level of remorse about any of them or all of them. So whatever, okay. I guess, these other girls are here. I guess I'm just gonna have to, take them out because I don't want them to have seen what was done. Oh, now I have to conceal the crime. I guess I'll just burn the place down. They were all equally the same to him. Now, because of this, I'm also going to say that he has definitely committed many other crimes prior to this, as well as homicide. This was not his first homicide. He was too cavalier about it. What was shown to me is that he has picked up hitchhikers in the past, would have raped them, and then would have taken them off the Earth plane, and he would dump their bodies, and life meant nothing to him. Human life meant nothing to him. Now, there were 4 teenage boys that were arrested for these crimes, and 2 of them actually spent, I want to say almost like 20 years in prison. And I'm going to discuss that as well, because this came in when I had looked into it. So the 4 teenage boys that were arrested had nothing to do with it. But they were arrested because there was so much pressure from the community that they needed suspects. And unfortunately, there was some bad policing that was done. What was the bad policing? It was holding them for too many hours and questioning them, tiring them out, wearing down their will, and the 2 kids that confessed essentially just confessed because they just wanted it to end. The kids were young and scared and worn down by the officers. Now, also, unfortunately, I'm going to share that I am not convinced that they will ultimately catch the man that has done it. And again, it's because his modus operandi is too random. It's too all over the place. There's no clear set, definitive, there's no clear-cut definitive motive for what he is doing with all of the other crimes. He's intelligent enough to know that he has to conceal the crimes, and that is probably why he has not actually been apprehended till now, okay? So I hope that answers any questions that you have on this crime, and if not, please comment down below. Now, I was also asked to do a Hollywood update, which I am going to do right now. And then, in case you're curious what we have left, even though you can see it in the timestamps, I'm going to share you. We have Hollywood, Robin Williams, Jamie Foxx. Then we have me skipping pages for stuff that I have channeled for other videos. Then we have, I'm going to finish with Joan Rivers actually. But then we also have Brad and Angelina, Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, Lisa Bonet and Bill Cosby, Do Our Pets Choose Us? This next one might get in her own video, depending. A woman named Rebecca Zahau. And then we have, let me see, Stephen King, Are Aliens Us in the Future? The 27 Club, Denzel Washington, The Zodiac Killer, and I think that's it. We have a lot, so let's keep going. Okay, Hollywood update. they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel here, and there's really no one left. Before you ask, I'm going to refer you back to the second person we had started with, which was Chris Cornell. We're not meant to know at this time, and that's why he wasn't sharing it. I'm also going to share with you in the past, because you guys have asked if I can see who's crossed over. Anytime I look into it, imagine slot machine, right? You have to get 3 pictures all the same to win. But what's happening is all of these other pictures are going around and around and around and around until they settle on the final 3. Anytime I try to look into who is no longer with us on this side, it's the same thing. It's just going around and around. It's a scrambler because we're not meant to know, and that's why it's not being shared with me. Okay, so we will continue to see more and more actors retire or step away from the industry or move out of Hollywood even. And this is done first and foremost as a cover because there's not many of them that are left. Now, why is this all being done? It is to first and foremost remove the idols from their pedestals and get us, the public, not used to seeing the glamorous faces we used to know. It's not to say that they are all crossed over and gone. It's just that they have been either forced to retire, or many of them are on house arrest or have actually crossed over. Hollywood was shown to me as a sewage pipe. So while there is still some sediment and sludge that's kind of left on the rim of it, right? It's like old and it's sedentary and it's condensed and it's really rooted there. There is fresh water that is being flushed into the system to make the shit come out and to clean it all out. It is in the process of being cleaned out, but anything we see with celebrities and movies is intentional. And any old timers being around are either controlled and are allowed to work because they cut a deal, or it is something old that is only now being released. We don't know when these things could have been filmed. It could have been during C-19, when we thought the industry was shut down, and it could have been already being rolled out at that time. The plan was already being rolled out, and these things were just kind of like tucked away for a later release date. Now, what was also shown to me is that the industry will change, and we will continue to see new faces and more real-looking people as well. And this will also be done to stop the idol worship, because they're going to look more real and less otherworldly. Because what do we now know? This is one of my guilty pleasures. I actually love going onto Instagram and like looking at all of the celebrity before and afters. And there are some accounts that are fantastic at getting these. And they'll put many pictures like side by side of the same person, so you can see their progression over the years. And it's all these people who are claiming they've never had any work done. But what is it? They're all getting, blepharoplasty around their eyes. They're all getting nose jobs. They're all getting their lips done. They're getting, maybe chin implants. The men for sure are getting chin implants. They're all getting fillers. They're all getting Botox. But they're all natural. Okay. So this is to normalize more real and normal looking people, because the super glamorous ones are getting shuffled out of the way. And what was shown to me is Margot Robbie is an example of this. She is gorgeous, but somehow she never really looks that great on the red carpet. Her hair, I actually spoke to a friend of mine about this. I was like, can someone please explain? She is gorgeous. Why does she just never look right? She just never, and then I realized when I looked into this, she is breaking the mold, because her hair is never like really super that done. Her makeup looks nice, it's tasteful. She's not like dressed to the nines. She looks more like a really, really beautiful regular person that like wandered onto the red carpet than she looks like all of the rest of them. So her hair, makeup, and clothes are never over the top. Plus, she doesn't live in LA, but Australia, where she's from, where she has a husband and a normal life. I was also shown that they will begin shuffling the talent around so that it's not always the top people being cast. It's to keep the energy fresh and to prevent the industry from falling back into the habit that it was in before, which is only the people that are at the top of the club are going to get the plum roles and get the awards for it. So they will begin shuffling the talent around so that it's not always the top people being cast. But also, I see that movies in the industry being a lot less prevalent in time. As more and more of us wake up and less of us will be interested in what is being produced, which will then further lead to changes in the industry. If less people are tuning in, it's going to change as a whole. Less money, less assets are going to be coming into it. They're going to have less funding for projects, etc., etc. Now, it was also shown to me, because the question was actually about somebody named Kim Porter. I'm not familiar with who she is, but what was shown to me specifically about Kim Porter being cast in something that's coming up right now is that they're trying to create a feeling of nostalgia with Hollywood and to shift the focus away from how it has been and what it has become. Now, I was also shown that the big paydays will vanish, as well as award shows, and the interest in it will become more local, to more local theaters, and the performers that are doing local theater, therefore, will be doing it for the love of the craft and not for the fame that accompanies it. Now, everything happened due to C-19 was to clear things out behind the scenes and to get us used to a world without blockbusters and celebrities. Because again, what were we told? We were told that the industry had completely shut down and that no one was making any new movies. I believe that they were privately, secretly. We just didn't know about it, and that those are the things that are now being released as if they are new and they are current, even though they are old and they are not current. But this is just to kind of like keep the appearance that everything is back to normal going, even though Hollywood has been cleared out. So I hope that answers any questions that you have on Hollywood and Kim Porter, and if not, please comment down below and let me know. Now, the next person that I'm going to look into is Robin Williams, who is a performer that it has been said took himself off the earth plane. And I know there's some questions about that, if he did, or if he was taken out, or if he's maybe even secretly still alive. And I'm going to share with you what his energy has shared with me. So Robin Williams did actually have a drug problem, but he didn't exactly get clean when it was said that he did. So why was he so funny back in the 1980s? He was doing a lot of drugs. I think specifically, I don't know if I can say it. You know Coca-Cola? I think he was doing that one. Because he had high levels of energy. Okay. So he shared that he was naive in thinking that the industry was about entertainment. Because it wasn't. But he really wanted to be a performer and to make people laugh because from his childhood, he knew how it felt not to. So I'm going to put a pin in this because this is going to connect to Denzel Washington, something that he had shared. So why did Robin Williams want to go into the industry? It was not for the fame. It was actually for the craft. He wanted to make people laugh because he had childhood trauma. So the drugs was a way of numbing himself as to what was actually going on in the industry. Now, he stayed in the industry because he still felt he could make a positive contribution into the world with entertainment. But his demons persisted. Ultimately, he said he didn't want to be a part of something so ugly, and at the time he chose to take his life, he did it because he couldn't see the industry getting any better. And in fact, from his perspective, it appeared to be getting worse. He felt his conscience was so damaged by being in the industry, and it was a pain he could not live with. The depth of his pain is even felt now from the other side, and thus far he has denied spending time and being healed by God because he isn't sure that he deserves it. He has really held on to his guilt. Now, I am going to be doing another video, hopefully next week, on the afterlife, and you can kind of understand more about what I'm sharing about being healed by God. But he has not spent time with God, allowing himself to be healed because of the guilt that he carries. He has also shared with me that he has enjoyed seeing his past lives and understands how karma and soul contracts work. And to some extent, that's why he continues to hold on to his guilt, as an assurance that he will not be involved with anything so dark in his next incarnation. Because yes, strong attachments like that do carry through and reinforce the fabrics, as if you will, like on a rope, making them fuller, denser, and that is how they carry through from lifetime to lifetime. So he is holding on to it because he does not want to come into another incarnation and be party to this again. He's holding on to it. He wants to make amends for what he knew was going on, but he remained in the industry because he wanted to make a positive contribution, knowing what was going on, but also being torn inside and wanting to make the contribution that he did. So I hope that answers your question on Robin Williams, and if not, please comment down below. Now, the next one I was asked to look into is Jamie Foxx. Now, Jamie Foxx is, I believe he's an actor and he's a comedian. And I think it was maybe last year, there was a lot of brouhaha around what had happened when he was hosting the Academy Awards because Will Smith had slapped him after he had made a joke about Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett. So we're gonna dive in. Now, what was shown to me is Jamie Foxx is going through his humiliation ritual season. Just like there's award season for the actors that are in Hollywood, it's when all of the awards are, kind of like condensed into, I think, a 4-month period. That's like the award season. Jamie Foxx is going through his humiliation ritual season. What the fuck does that mean? Let's explore. Everything we see playing out from the slap with Will Smith to the health complications he is said to have right now is because he was not a good little soldier like he was supposed to be. So he is being humiliated. Now, interestingly enough, what was shown to me about the slap was that the thing with the slap was the joke behind it. What he had said about Jada Pinkett had to be cleared to be said because Will Smith is higher up in the club than Jamie Foxx is. So for someone who is lower down in the club, anything and everything that they say has to get cleared if they're taking a shot at somebody that is above them. Because there are levels, and you cannot poke and prod or demean somebody that is in a layer above you or a level above you. So he was given the go-ahead and the green light, if you will, to say it. But this was also done with the assurance that Will would not act the way he did, but at the very least, it would continue to undermine this idea that celebrities are somehow better than us. So let's say whoever actually cleared the joke that he had made about Jada Pinkett Smith, maybe they weren't entirely sure that Will Smith was going to do this. Because I don't see that it was actually planned ahead. Maybe they didn't know that he was going to say this, but at the very least, Will Smith was going to be making some fucking faces. And Jada Pinkett Smith was going to be giving stink eye, right? So it was going to, in any event, it was going to undermine. And through the fact even that Jamie Foxx, even if we don't understand the way that these different layers and levels work, that Jamie Foxx was going to undermine how celebrities are so much better than us because he was still making the joke. So either way, it was a win. Will acting the way he did in fact actually make himself, Will Smith, look bad, and it also made Jamie Foxx look like a bitch. Because of his recognition, he couldn't do anything, he had to stand down. Because of his recognition that Will is higher up in the club and he could do nothing about it. So it shows hierarchy. Similarly, too, when Ricky Gervais hosted the Golden Globes and roasted Hollywood, that was only allowed because there was a new script writer, and that was done. That was the start. Because there was a new script writer, and that done to, what the fuck did I write here? Start the cast. Oh, okay. That was done to cast Hollywood in a different light. Again, no punctuations. The hand that is just trying to keep up with what my guides are bringing me. So this was done with what Ricky Gervais has done, where he basically, I mean, go on YouTube when you're done. Don't leave. But when you're done watching this video, go search Ricky Gervais roasting Hollywood at the Golden Globes. Holy fucking hell. That was all done to cast Hollywood in a different light, because he said things that would not ordinarily have been allowed to have been said. But it was said because there was a new scriptwriter in town. So, while what is going on with Jamie appears to be allowed by the white hats and run by the dark hats, it's because it is. So again, what we see pertaining to Hollywood actors or movies is allowed to happen as it serves some sort of a bigger point. This is reflecting, or will in the future, when more and more are awake, how Jamie Foxx seems to be getting knocked around lately, right? He got slapped by Will Smith. He's having all of these health complications. And why is that the case? Why did nothing really happen to Will Smith, right? What, he was like, he still got the Academy Award. What, he can't like vote in the voting process for like the next 5 years? Big fucking deal. So why did nothing happen to Will Smith, but all of these things seem to be happening to Jamie Foxx? Why does Jamie Foxx seem to have such bad luck? Breadcrumbs for the future to put the pieces together should we want to. Okay, then that was last week's video on the astral realm. I'm going to skip some pages. Here's the afterlife. That's going to be next week. Okay, Joan Rivers I'm going to save for the end. Okay, Brad and Angelina, because we're still like in Hollywood land, so let's keep it all kind of together. So Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, for anyone who is not familiar, two very, very well-known and famous actors. Brad Pitt was actually 2% sharing, was actually my first real Hollywood crush when I had seen him in Legends of the Fall. Ooh, girl, with the long hair. My real first celebrity crush. Now, even now that he's older, he's still a good-looking man. All right, so Brad and Angelina. Angelina Jolie, also a very famous actress. These two were married to other people, and then they filmed a movie called Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and from that they actually came together and were in a long-term relationship, and then they had gotten married at some point. So let's see what was really going on behind the veil with these two. Brad and Angelina were a prototype, because all celebrities at a certain level are. You do not necessarily get to marry who you want to, but you can always be in a relationship with who you want to, and that is the way it has always been in Hollywood. And that is also why there are many secret hidden tunnels in LA connecting houses, and that this was done so lovers could have their hidden trysts without the public knowing, and now without the paparazzi knowing. But these tunnels were from back in the day when the studios decided who married who, and it was long before the cabal and the Hollywood elite stepped in and they started to decide. So essentially, go back to the beginning of Hollywood, the actors have always been owned. So Brad and Angelina were placed in a film together, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, as their cover story for how they fell in love, because it was decided realized these two would be even more powerful and famous if they were together than apart. So, how or why? Because first and foremost, it would help ground Angelina Jolie's image. She had been the former bad girl of Hollywood. When she won her Academy Award, she kissed her brother on the lips and she was like, I'm so in love with my brother, and that raised all sorts of questions. And then when she was married to Billy Bob Thornton, they wore vials of each other's blood around each other's necks. And she kind of always looked a bit like unkempt. She kind of always looked like she had like rolled out of bed and like brushed her teeth and threw whatever was like laying on her floor and like would roll out to some event. She wasn't really ever put together. So getting together with Brad Pitt was to ground her image, as well to ground her image and to clean her image up a little bit. And she and her then one son, because she only had one adopted child at that time, her and her son Pax would soften Brad's image. Oh, and I actually wrote soften Brad image / harden it back up again. And here's why. This was also shown to me as shoving it in someone's face, whoever it was that had put Brad and Jennifer Aniston together. Because those two did not seem to be a congruent match at all. And I think they were married for like 5 years. To me, that's just further proof that those two were put together. So this was also to soften him up, because now he was with a woman that had a kid, but it was also to harden him up again, because now he was with Angelina Jolie and she had an edge, whereas Jennifer Aniston didn't. That person, or the person, whoever it was that had put Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston together, that person was now out of favor, and as a final kick goodbye, they also timed the breakup of Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston to this person's fall from grace and being out of the club. So it's not just don't let the door hit you on the way out. It's not only are we don't let the door hit you on the way out, because it's going to, but your project of putting these two incongruent energies together that had people like, what the actual fuck about them? It was the final insult to this person. We're breaking up your prized celebrity match. Now, this was also good. It was also done because it's good to sell magazines. It's good to capture attention. It's just good all around. Now, interestingly enough, Brad and Angelina genuinely got along. What she had previously said about them being very, very competitive was true, and that they had fallen in love on the set was also true. It doesn't always work out like this, where the couple even end up liking each other. But for them to actually love each other is very, very rare. But they did. They had great sexual chemistry and were genuinely aligned in a lot of values, like wanting to have a large family. However, Angelina does tend to lose interest in her playthings rather quickly, which is also why she wanted to have a lot of kids, because eventually she would get tired of one and want another. So it was inevitable that eventually, when she and Brad were done having kids, she would get bored of him too. So what happened is she went to her managers and she said she wanted out. She had put in her time and she was done. And I wrote this and I underlined it. Imagine that even at their level, celebrities, at that level of celebrity, they can't just end their marriage because it's not a real marriage. She needed permission because they're all owned. So, because she knew how to push Brad's buttons, and people who knew them knew this, the fight on the plane was devised to be the breakup. That people who knew them, that were actually genuine friends of the couple, would be like, okay, we get it. Now, what was also shown to me is that there was some hurt feelings, but here's why. Because Brad didn't want his marriage to end. He genuinely loved being with the kids, and him and Angelina always had good sexual chemistry, so he was content to have stayed. Like, it might have been a scripted marriage, but at a certain point for him, it was a real marriage. He was in it. He was committed to it. So the hurt feelings did come from him because he was not the one that had wanted out. Angelina, however, was shown to me as being a little bit more like, get over it and move on, and she bristled at the fact that Brad still wanted to be friends with her. But ultimately, they both agreed there was no point, so they both moved on. Now, also interestingly enough, what was shown to me, because if you know about their firstborn child together, is a girl named Shiloh. And the first, I would say, I don't know, maybe 10 years of Shiloh's life, they were apparently raising her as a boy. And they were referring to her as John, and she would dress like a boy. And then one day, she was dressing like a girl, and she really presents very, very pretty as a girl, and they're calling her Shiloh again. So this is what was shown to me about that. I was also shown that when celebrity kids detransition, right? She was John dressing as a boy, and she's now Shiloh dressing as a girl. So when celebrity kids detransition, it is a sign that the parents are no longer in the club. They've paid their dues and are free. And it's also a sign to other celebrities that they will know that these two people are no longer in the club. So let's say, for example, if you will, celebrities, when they're joining the club, they can get a contract. Maybe it's a 5-year contract, maybe it's a 10-year contract, maybe it's a 20-year contract. Whatever the contract is, at a certain point, the contract expires. And then maybe the terms will be renegotiated, and then they'll be maybe put into like a different relationship or a different marriage or whatever the fuck they're gonna use their image for. Maybe the terms are going to be renegotiated, or at some point, maybe the members of the club are going to say, you know what? I'm good. I feel I paid my, I paid my dues. I made a lot of movies. I made a lot of money, and I'm okay with whatever happens next. So they are no longer in the club, and that's why Shiloh has detransitioned. Now, what was also shown to me is that Brad and Angelina are out. They're out of the club, right? Without any ill will, because they did what they were supposed to do. So it's not like they were killed. They made their contribution. They upheld the terms of their contract and agreement precisely and to a T. There's no ill will. The contract has expired, and then either one or both parties no longer want to renew it, and that's okay. There's no ill will between them. They're also probably older, and that's why. My guess kind of is, and this is why you'll kind of see like actors kind of like taper away. Because Hollywood is so three-dimensional, like 3D, like into the 3D and one-dimensional, and they only put value into like your beauty and your youth. When you're older, you're not as viable of a source to them. Like the younger up-and-coming generation are not gonna like look up to you and be like, oh, I wonder where like Brad. A perfect example, like one of my friend's kids is 16. So I was talking to her one day about Brad Pitt and how he was so fucking hot back in the day, and I showed her a picture of Brad Pitt now. Like I showed her a picture of Brad Pitt back in the day when he was hot. She's like, yeah, he's kind of cute. She's like, what does he look like now? I showed her a picture of Brad Pitt now, albeit he's still a good-looking older man. And she's like, nah. Because that's the way the young generation is, right? Like, think of yourself when you were a kid. Like, you thought, like, my mom, when I was 10 years old and my mom was 40, I was like, my God, like, she's so fucking over the hill. I'm older than 40 now, and I'm like, wow, I'm like just starting now. It's the difference between the different generations. So the older the actors are, they're not really so much of a viable source, and that's why the terms of the contract can end and not be chosen to like be renegotiated at that time. The younger kids don't really give a fuck what the older people are up to. They paid their dues, they put their time in, they did what they were supposed to. If you want to go off and live a merry little life, in the south of France, go the fuck ahead. Okay, so again, that was a long aside, I'm sorry. So while Brad and Angelina are out without ill will because they did what they were supposed to, they are now free to get out of acting or stay in. However, most of the good roles will pass over them and be offered to actors that are still in the club. So even if there's a role for an older woman and they think Angelina Jolie would be perfect for it, because her kid publicly detransitioned, they know she's no longer in the club. It's a sign, if you will. They're going to pass her over for somebody else. Maybe somebody younger, and they're going to just do a lot of makeup to make that person appear to be older. Because that's the way it works in Hollywood. So I hope that answers any question that you have on Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie. And if not, please comment down below. Next, we have Lisa Bonet and Bill Cosby. Because it was asked why Lisa Bonet was out of the show. Was she kicked off or did she decide to leave? So what was shown to me is that Lisa was skeeved out. Those are her words. By Bill Cosby without knowing why she was skeeved out by him. Now, for anyone who is unfamiliar, Lisa Bonet and Bill Cosby were on a show in the 1980s called I believe it was the Cosbys or the Cosby Family? I forget what it was. And she played his daughter. And in recent years, allegations have come forth of what Bill Cosby was doing, which was he was actually drugging women and having consensual sex with them. Okay. So she was skeeved out by Bill without knowing why she was skeeved out by him. She is actually highly intuitive and sensitive to energy, and she picked up what was going on without understanding how she was picking up on it. She was also starting to be a problem on set because of it, and that's why she was let go. There you go. That's answering your question. She really is the way she seems to be, hippy-dippy. She also shared with me that she loved Lenny Kravitz and he loved her, but that their soul contract was up and it was time to go. And while she says not everybody agrees with this or understands that concept, it does make endings easier to bear. Maybe you're with somebody and you loved them for a time period, but the relationship ended. So she is trying to say that it's because you had a soul contract perhaps to be with that person for a set amount of time or to experience certain experiences that you had with them. And then once the contract, similar to how it is in Hollywood, but on a soul level, once the terms of the contract have been fulfilled, maybe that relationship is going to end. She says and she knows. Wait, the fuck again? My handwriting. She says. She knows. Everybody's going to want to know about her relationship and her marriage to Jason Momoa and their kids. Let's talk about that. First, she wanted to clarify she has a type. She likes masculine, manly men. Lenny Kravitz, Jason Momoa. Second, she also said she's fed up because she spent her whole life running away from this shit, her words, only to have Jason run towards it. So she was married to Lenny Kravitz, had a daughter named Zoe, I believe, Zoe Kravitz, who's in her 20s now, and is an actress in her own right now. And then she married, her and Lenny got divorced, and she married Jason Momoa, and they have two, not like young kids, maybe like teenagers, I would say. Maybe somewhere between 8, 10, 12, I don't know, something around there. And recently there was footage of Jason Momoa on the red carpet getting handsy with one of his kids on the red carpet. What's that about? So she shared. She spent her whole life running away from this shit only to have Jason run towards it. What was she running away from? What was going on with Bill Cosby? She wanted to be a supportive wife and be supportive of his dreams, but she also wanted nothing to do with Hollywood. But she also really loved Jason up until the point that image consultants came in and started changing him. But what was worse, he believed it. He grew his hair longer. He started to really bulk up. He's very masculine right now. What else came with his rebranded image? So she shared he was manly and masculine, but he also was so sweet and tender. But now he's just a man. All traces of his tenderness are gone. She said that while the relationship is over, and it had been for a long time, those above Jason, his handlers, his managers, whoever they might have been, told Lisa Bonet that if she left him, it would affect Zoe's career in Hollywood. And Lisa Bonet, being the mother that she is and wanting the best for her daughter, chose to stay so it would not have any negative blowback on Zoe. So she was told she better stay. They needed her and him together, him being Jason Momoa, needed her and him together a little longer for image purposes until she would be able to go. She also shared with me that Hollywood is a viper's nest and worse than we can even imagine. So I hope that it answers any questions that you have on Lisa Bonet, Bill Cosby, and even Jason Momoa. And if not, please comment down below. I'm going to skip ahead because I want to share Denzel Washington because he's in the club. Well, you'll see. I want to share what he had said, and then I'll come back to this next thing. Okay, thought my crystal was about to fall on the floor, but it didn't. Okay, Denzel Washington. I want to try to do this in under 3 hours, so I'm going to start to pick up the pace a little bit. Denzel Washington was excited, and he spoke very animated and he speaks very animated when he is genuinely happy. He was excited to share with me that he is not in the club, but it wasn't like that when he joined, the way it is now. They could still have liberties with your relationships, but a lot of the other stuff that you have to do to join the club, like what Jason Momoa is now doing because he had to join the club, not just the image rebranding, but the other stuff, getting handsy with minors. Okay. It wasn't like that when Denzel Washington joined the club. But he also said not to get too excited because he is fully enmeshed. He knows what goes on. He sees it. He's been there. He just didn't have to partake to join it. He knows what goes on. He's been to parties. He's witnessed things. He knows all about it. Now, he shared with me he really got into acting for the craft, and he loves to be a performer and share what he believes are his gifts and abilities, entertaining. He's also glad he didn't have to join the club to become a performer because that would have really been a tough decision for him as he felt called to be an actor. But for, again, the right reasons, not the wrong one. He felt called to be an actor because he enjoys the craft, acting, bringing forth a character into the world. He didn't do it for the fame. He doesn't care about the fame. He shared also that he has a lot of sympathy for the young ones that have to join, the ones that are joining now, but also says that those that do want to join, or the ones that are wanting to come into Hollywood and ultimately join the club, they are doing it because they are damaged to begin with. So this goes back to what we had discovered about Robin Williams. Robin Williams got into it because he was a damaged soul. And anybody that is trying to get into the industry, not for the craft, but for the fame and the fortune, it's because they have some sort of trauma that they are trying to get on the other side of through their fame and through the recognition that they will receive out in the world and through the accolades and through the money. It's a trauma-based industry. Now, he also shared they have to be damaged to begin with because who would want to get into such a dysfunctional profession? These are Denzel's words. There's constant nitpicking at appearances. Actors take constant blows to their self-esteem, and your life isn't even your own when you join. He said society has done a good job on selling people the lie that celebrities have a good or easy life because of how glamorous it looks on TV. And therefore, wounded souls flock to the profession only to find out attaining actual fame has very little to do with actual talent and more to do with what you have done to attain that level of success. Kind of exactly what, what's her name? Kelly Clarkson had said, right? It's all connected. They're all just bringing all these little pieces together and tying them up into a nice little bow. He did also share with me he's glad he rose through the ranks before it was this way now, and he hopes he will still have a seat at the table when the industry changes because of what he knows and what he has been party to. So I hope that answers your question on Denzel Washington, and if not, please comment down below. Now, I'm going back to the question that had come up, which is, do pets choose us? And this is what was shown to me. This is going to be an unsatisfactory answer, I'm sorry. Sometimes yes. Sometimes they choose us to be with us because they are contracted to be with us. But sometimes we also end up with a pet that is a vibrational match for us. There is no hard, fast rule when it comes to our animal companions. Sometimes they choose us, sometimes we're contracted to them, or they're contracted to be with us, and sometimes we're just a vibrational match for them. It's not like a one-size-fits-all approach. Now, the second question that was asked to me about if we choose our pets is what we should pay attention to when they're with us. And this is what was shared to me. Pay attention to how they act around other people, because that will actually clue us, the pet owner, into how we may feel about somebody, but we are not yet consciously aware of it yet. The animals can pick up on what we are not yet consciously recognizing, so watch how they are with other people, because that will actually cue you into what you are not yet consciously aware of. So I hope that answers your questions about pets, choosing their owners, and if not, please comment down below. Now, depending on time, we may come back to this topic. We also may not. So we may do Rebecca Zahau, and if not, she will be a part of a future AMA, okay? But we just have so much to get through still. Okay. Next, I was asked to look into Stephen King. And this is what was shown to me about Stephen King. And I have shared little bits and pieces of him in previous videos, but here's a little bit more context. Stephen King is demonically possessed. Dun, dun, dun. Not at all times. However, he does open himself up, and frequently, and this is where he draws inspiration from. He is connecting to entities. So just as myself and other channelers are connecting to the divine and to pure positive life force energy, and that's why what we are bringing in is a positive vibration or positive information, he too can connect to, he does too, except he is not connecting to the divine. Anyone that is as a prolific writer as he is drawing information from somewhere. Look to see what he writes about, not just him or anybody. Look to see what anybody writes about, and that will cue you into what they are connecting to. Look to see what he, specifically Stephen King, writes about, and that tells you what he is connecting to. Now, I hope that answers your question about Stephen King, and if not, comment down below. But however, there is a second part to that, which is, let me go to that page, something I had picked up as a random download that I'm going to tie into Stephen King. Okay, now this is what was shown to me. Anybody that is a fantasy or sci-fi writer has a line to the other side. That's specific about fantasy and sci-fi. However, if they are disbelievers, meaning they don't believe that what they're connecting to is real and true, or they're disbelievers about what they are receiving, i.e. their gifts and abilities that they are connecting to the other side with. So instead of internalizing it and believing that they have these gifts and abilities, and yes, they are in fact connecting to the other side, they will turn the mirror around, so to speak, and allow the collective to receive the information that they were receiving as if it is fantasy or science fiction. They are looking in the mirror without realizing it. So what are they seeing? What is their divinely inspired information that is being brought forth to them? Is through their connection to the other side. Their crown chakra could be blown the wide fuck open and they're just receiving constant downloads all the time. But they're not believing that it's through a gift or an ability that they have. So, okay, I'll write about it. It must just be sci-fi or fantasy. They don't realize it's real. They are disbelieving that they have gifts and abilities to connect to the other side. So instead of looking in the mirror and realizing that they are divinely connected, they're turning the mirror around and they're sharing their gift, if you will, with the collective, but as it being fiction. But we too, therefore, I feel like my hair looks kind of wonky, so don't mind me as I just kind of adjust it. Therefore, we too don't believe it either, because it's being presented as science fiction or fantasy. Now, what was also shown to me was that Nostradamus was connected and Galileo too. These voices that propelled us and our understanding forward had a direct line to the other side. They had an inner knowing without the knowledge or understanding from where it came, but they did not second guess it. They were connected to something greater and higher than themselves. They just didn't second guess it. So they shared what they knew to be true. They devoted themselves to the pursuits of their downloads with the understanding that it was coming through to them with the intention for them to share it. So I hope that answers any questions that you have about that. And if not, please comment down below. Now, this is fascinating. So the next question that was asked, I love this one. Thank you, Jamie. Okay. Because yes, again, I remind you, I'm on a first name basis with you guys. Are aliens us in the future? Love this. This is what was shown to me. No. They are separate and distinct entities, and they are also interdimensional and come through from other planes. I'm also going to share with you, because this was, I wrote it, so it's meant for me to share it. In the past, I was able to see these it's 2.5 hours. It's going to happen. In the past, I was able to see these extraterrestrials, but I did not have a dialogue with them. Only very recently did one come through to me and start communicating. I have a direct line now to one particular extraterrestrial, okay? So if you guys have more questions about it, comment down below and let me know, and I will have a dialogue with my contact on the other side, okay? And so he only recently did one come through to me and start communicating. What did he share? He shared that they are starting to come and connect with channelers, such as myself, more as they want us to start speaking about them. And why? They will be known about, known about, not like it's a conspiracy theory. They will be known about within the next 10 years. So within the next, I did not get a specific time because timelines can change. They will be known about within the next 10 years. So by coming to people like myself and talking about them, it's normalizing the topic and making them something that we do not actually have to fear. Because unfortunately, our government, in conjunction with the media, have really painted them out to be pretty horrible. So now there is so much disinformation and fear associated with them. And he shared with me that about 98% of it is not true. So I asked, what is the 2% that is true? And was told it's not anything that came from movies, but it's the real encounters that people who have been abducted have had. What were their experiences? What have they shared? What have they said? Those are the real things. That's the 2% that has not been disinformation and fear porn propagated by the governments of the world and the media. So I asked if they have been unfairly portrayed, why did they come at all? And why were they abducting people? And I was told that there was a treaty made between a former US president, I was not shown which one, but there was, and this was back when TVs were still in black and white. That's the only thing that I was shown. I don't know which one it was. But it was when TVs were still black and white, and it was at the time when TVs were out there. So I don't know, whatever year they were invented, somewhere from there until when TVs became color, one of those United States presidents was in contact with one specific species of extraterrestrials, and he had given them the green light to abduct people, and that they never would have if not for that. He also shared with me that those that have done the abducting were not part of his species, but even though they are not, he would like to apologize on their behalf as well, because it did technically violate the laws of non-interference, because a president cannot make a decision that affects the citizens of the country he presides over without the citizens' consent. It violated the laws of non-interference. Now, if you want to learn more about this, I'm linking it down below. There's a video that I had done on extraterrestrials, Area 51, time travel, and I forget what else. But I've linked that down below because I actually do talk in it about how that these entities do have to abide by the laws of something called non-interference, which is they can't come here to save us. We have to save ourselves. So even though they have advanced knowledge and advanced technologies, that is, if they came here to save us, would be violating the laws of non-interference. And those that are of the good, and this one that I was talking to and can talk to is of the good, he would not violate the laws of non-interference. So they would not come here and abduct people because the president said that it was okay. Because a president can't speak for all the citizens. The citizens have to speak for themselves. Now, this is also going to explain to you why there are so many reveals in movies. Why? What's the best way to reach the masses and to put reveals in there and to what's the word? Again, there's a long video. These blunders are going to start to happen. But to satisfy the laws of the cabal, which is just like the good has the laws of non-interference, the cabal has the laws of something called karmic retribution. What is karmic retribution? It is they can do whatever they want to us as long as they have revealed it to us. It doesn't matter if they revealed it to us in a movie and we took it to be fiction. They still told it. They still told us. They still showed it to us. They now are free to do whatever it is that they want to do. They have their own laws. Their top one is the law of karmic retribution. We can do what we want to, you just have to know about it. Those are the laws of the dark side. The laws of the good is something called non-interference, because the cabal has interfered with our lives enough. So they're not going to do to us what the cabal has done to us, even if it's for our good. We have to empower ourselves. We have to step up and say, "Till here but no further." That's why they will not get involved. So even though it was not his specific species, he is still apologizing on their behalf because this species did violate the laws of non-interference. Now, to that end, I then asked him why they are now coming to channelers and how is that non-interference? And it was shared with me, they are only coming into those that have asked previously to make contact with extraterrestrials. And yes, I did. So it's anyone that has previously asked to make contact or something to that effect, as that will then not violate the laws of non-interference because we have requested it. He also shared with me they will not share anything with us that violates any of their laws nor ours, but he did not expand on it. So they have other laws that he will not share anything with me if it's going to violate, as well as sharing anything that will violate our laws. Lastly, I asked if I will see the one that I have been speaking with too in actual physical form, and he said eventually. So I hope that answers your question on if extraterrestrials are us in the future, and if not, please comment down below. Yeah, I guess it makes sense he said eventually, because they'll be known on a large scale within the next 10 years. So I think I will also recognize him as soon as I see him. I'll know that it's him. And he also gave me his name. Okay, next question is on the so-called 27 Club. And I'm going to talk about what this so-called club is. It is where there were a number of very notable performers that all passed away when they were 27 years old. And they now comprise the so-called 27 Club. Let's talk about it. So who are these performers? I didn't write all of them down because I only wrote down like the really, really notable ones. There's a shit ton more. So if you want to know who they all are, you can Google it. Man, I'm getting tired. Okay. So the 27 Club are all performers that were performers that were part of the club, and they were sacrifices. So who were they? Kurt Cobain, Brian Jones, Jim Morrison, Amy Winehouse, Robert Johnson, Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix, and more. Now, why were they sacrificed? If you want to stop a performer from reaching their potential because they are unruly, or cannot be contained, or won't play by the rules, or they don't want to join the club after they've achieved some level of success, what better way to shut them down than by taking them off the earth plane and then letting that stand as a notice to any future performer prior to when they had cloning. So remember what Jessica Simpson had said earlier on, the turning point was Eminem. So I don't think we're going to see a lot of members of the 27 Club thereafter because of this. Or maybe they were still perfecting it, whatever the case may be. Now the management also gets filthy rich anyway, whether the performer is alive or whether they are dead. Because again, what did Jessica Simpson share? Why was she such a breath of fresh air? All the goods that she had brought. These people are paid so unbelievably well because there's so many hands in every single pot, the pot being the performer. And all of the managers, all of the handlers, all of the agents are getting fucking filthy rich off of these people. They are getting a cut of the performer's profits, whether that performer is alive or dead. They don't necessarily care if that performer is alive or dead because they themselves are also in the club. They're handlers. What do you think a manager is? They're a handler. So they're in the club. So, okay, whatever. It's 1 out of 10 other celebrities that I'm handling because they're agents, right? They represent countless other celebrities. Okay, it's one. Whether they're alive or dead, I'm still getting money from them. So I hope that answers your question on the 27 Club. And if not, please comment down below. Let's see what we have left. Oh, I think we just have 2 more. I think we can finish this under 3 hours, and that's what my aim actually is. Okay, so I'm going to share with you, there's 2 other people that I had looked into. One is very, very short and one is longer, and then we're gonna go back to Joan Rivers and we're gonna end on her, because I loved her. Okay, so I first looked into Son of Sam, and quickly, this is what I got. I'm gonna quickly put it in. He was programmed. The motives were not his own, and the true intention of the murders was a creation of mass fear and louche that was in New York. So Son of Sam was a prolific serial killer. I think they called him like a spree killer. No, that's not wrong. He was a serial killer. He would just like, whatever, go up upon people sitting in their cars and like shoot them for absolutely no reason. There was no motive whatsoever. He was programmed to do this for the creation of louche and the creation of fear upon New York when he had done this. Now, next I had looked into the Zodiac Killer, and let's talk about him. Okay, so the Zodiac Killer was shown to me as being a little socially awkward, probably into fetishes, and was probably an incel, something that is known as an involuntary celibate. And because who are his victims? Look to his victims. They were all young couples. So he was essentially killing those that were having or would have the kind of experiences that he would not. Romantic relations. He was shown to me as being average intelligence or slightly above average intelligence. And because here's why. All the nonsense about killing people and turning them into slaves in the afterlife was his way of throwing off detection of himself by the police by making them think that he was crazy. Because what did he share in letters that he had written with like spelling mistakes galore? These people are going to be my slaves on in another lifetime. I'm killing them. I'm collecting the souls. He knew that was fucking bullshit. He was doing it to evade detection and to throw the police off. He was, however, so it was to make the police believe that he was crazy. He was not, however, crazy, just angry. And why was he angry? Shown to me as either he himself being former military or coming from a military family, thus very tightly wound up, not a lot of love or emotions expressed in the home. So he grew up feeling very, very guilty about having normal, natural needs and desires that one would have, such as wanting to have a partner or wanting to get married and have somebody to love and have somebody that loves you back. So he grew up feeling very guilty about having normal desires, like to be in a relationship or to even have sex. And thus, because this was already painted to be abnormal, thus was the development of the fetishes that he actually did have. It's like, well, if those seemingly normal things are not normal and are abnormal, he was more expressing the fullness of all of the other things that were inside of him that happened to have also been fetishes. Now, he also, it was shown to me is that he enjoyed the feeling of power he had he enjoyed the feeling of power he had to make demands of having the letters be published and how people and the police would try to figure out all of this nonsense. He also shared with me that the signs and symbols meant nothing to him, and he chose Zodiac because it sounded occulty and it was actually the furthest thing from he himself. I also saw him as moving, I think this had happened in San Francisco, and I saw him moving away from San Francisco. Like, why was he never caught? He had moved away from San Francisco and he had started over. The heat was on and he needed to get the fuck out of San Francisco, so he did. However, once he had moved, whatever it was that compelled him to do these crimes was out of his system, and therefore, he didn't feel the need to do them any longer, and he stopped. Sometimes a person can be a really bad incongruent match with their environment vibrationally. Now, I'm not using that as an excuse to say he was a bad match for San Francisco and that's what caused him to kill. No. It's just to say that we are all made of energy. People, places, things, every fucking thing. So if he was an energetically porous person, he could have been picking up on the vibes of San Francisco that was throwing him further out of alignment. And the expression of that being out of energetic alignment was the crimes that he had committed. But then once he had moved, he was in a better energetic match for himself. He didn't feel the need to do it any longer. Go back to the example I had given you before. Tired of it or not, it's the best example. Magnets and the polarity. Sometimes they attract and they jive. Sometimes they repel. So he got out of a place that was not in energetic alignment for him, got into a place that was, and it changed his life. So I hope that answers your question on the Zodiac Killer and Son of Sam, and if not, please comment down below. Now, I am going to go back to Joan Rivers. We're going to end on her. I wonder if I can fit in Rebecca Zahow. I'm sorry, I think she's too long. I think I'm gonna start, she's way too long. She's 5 pages. I'm sorry, sweetie. I'm gonna have to do Rebecca Zahow either as her own video or I'll start an AMA next time with her so I can budget the time a little bit more clearly. It's just too much information had come in. And I really wanna finish under the 3-hour mark, okay? Okay, so I'm going back to Joan Rivers. Okay, Joan Rivers was feisty as fuck. She said she really ended up in the, for anyone who doesn't know who Joan Rivers was, I think she was like a news reporter maybe. And then later on in life, she had actually, she was doing like red carpet events where she was talking to people, or she would like unpack the red carpet events thereafter and talk to like other celebrity, like other people in the industry where they would like break down what everybody was wearing. She did like a lot of red carpet coverage, which is really, really funny because she was really not politically correct at all. She would just say whatever the fuck she wanted to. And yeah, that was her. That is her. She's fucking feisty as fuck. Okay. So she said she really ended up in the right profession later in her life because even though she was funny, her gift of jab really shined when talking about people to other people, but doing it in a humorous way. She said she had a fabulous life with fabulous love affairs and fabulous experience. One thing I want you to know about her, she, in addition to being feisty as fuck, this is someone who recognizes what a great life she had, and that is why everything to her was fabulous. And she has no qualms with it. She's like, girl, I had a fabulous fucking life. So yes, she had a fabulous life with fabulous love affairs and fabulous experiences, and that's really what she wanted to be remembered for. She also shared that part of her endless quest for beauty and looking young and the procedures that she went in for was less about her and more about society and a reflection of it. She realized that at a certain age, women were no longer considered relevant. See parts passing on Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie, for example, if you skip them. But a woman of a certain age was no longer considered relevant. So the only way to beat it was to make a caricature of herself, and it worked because she always worked and she was always relevant by making herself appear younger. But that this was done for society to see what a mockery it was and the great lengths women have to go through to remain relevant. As a point in fact, she asked me, where today is Michelle Pfeiffer? Al Pacino, who she starred in Scarface with. Al Pacino has kept working. Meanwhile, Michelle Pfeiffer has vanished into the shadows. You see why she's feisty as fuck? She fucking got it. She beat the industry at its own game. Now, for anyone who's curious about her death, this is what she shared. So first and foremost, I think she had gone in for like a so-called routine procedure, and then she had died while the procedure was being done or while she was still under anesthesia. So this is what she had shared. First, before she was going to say anything about that, she wants me to know what fabulous, again, the word fabulous, everything to her is fabulous. She wants me to know what fabulous friends she was with Donald Trump. Though most of the world does not know that. She actually shared she was able to remain good friends with most people, even if she roasted them, unless they were extremely thin-skinned and they took themselves too seriously. But most people were okay with her. But her and Donald especially got along because she was astute and she was not afraid to speak her mind, and Donald always appreciated that about her. Look at what she has said about people on the red carpet that tells you everything you need to know about her. She could size them up and she could make hysterical analogies to what they were wearing. She was aware, awake, and funny. And surprisingly enough, Donald Trump also trusted her opinion of people. So when he called her up to ask a personal favor of her, no matter what it was, she was inclined to say yes. The what it was made it all the more fun and delicious because she was getting old anyway. She didn't know how much longer she would have left, but this was one last hurrah and a big adventure. The best part was she didn't have to really vanish at all because no one would be looking for her. They would assume she was dead. And she could continue to see her daughter and her grandson, and that was the most important thing to her. Now, what she loved most about her passing away was seeing all the BS after she had died and how people that hated her were speaking out so graciously about her. She loved playing dead while actually still being alive and seeing all the fake, phony attention whores coming out to speak about her. She says it was one of the most fun times she ever actually had, and she is grateful to Trump for that. She was alive, she got to see it all, and she loved every fucking second of it. Being dead while being very much alive and seeing all the fucking phonies for how fake and fucking phony they are when she knew how they really felt about her. Now, if you want to know what it is that Trump asked her, it was not shown to me, okay? Let's just put that right there. It was not shared with me, okay? But what was shared with me, because this was, I think, one of the points about the question about Joan Rivers, which is Joan Rivers, 2 weeks before she died of this routine procedure, was actually a paparazzo in New York had asked her a question, what do you think we'll see first? Do you think we'll see a gay president or do you think we'll see a woman president? And she said, well, we already have that. We have that with the Obamas. And the paparazzo was like very noticeably shaken. He's like, wait, what? And she turned around and she said to him, just calm down. We all know about it. It's not even a big deal. So in case you were wondering why she said that, she shared. Okay, so the comment she made about Michelle Obama was made because she knew she was going to cross over in a few weeks anyway, and she wanted to have a little fun. Plus, she had nothing to lose anymore. It was not scripted. It was not even an intentional reveal. It was just so obvious to her. And she's glad that those of us that are awake relish in her having said it. And lastly, she wanted to remind me, she's fabulous, her life was fabulous, everything is fabulous, and soon we will all know just how fabulous it all is. And that's why I wanted to end with Joan Rivers. She's not the only one with a fabulous life. We are all. Everything is fabulous. And soon we'll all know just how fabulous it all is. So take heart. So that concludes the latest AMA. We're clocking in at just under 3 hours. And I do want to share that if you are here, if you have made it this far, please comment down below. Let me know that you have watched the video in its entirety. And in addition to that, just like on the last AMA that was also very, very long, if you made it this far, if you watched it all the way through, you deserve a treat. So please, whatever it is for you, because, you know, different people have different treats. If it's a piece of chocolate, or if it's cheesecake, or if it's getting a manicure, or if it's getting a massage, you earned it, girlfriend. You go get that fucking treat and you enjoy every fucking second of it, okay? So I love you guys. Thank you all so much for being here. And until next time, this is your reminder to stay in the high vibration.